When the ambulance pulled away with its lights off, no one realized that Margaret Ellery, quiet librarian, retired schoolteacher, and widow of 42 years, was already dying in silence. She had collapsed between the fiction and biography shelves at the Oak Ridge Public Library, a place she'd volunteered at every Thursday for nearly 2 decades. The paramedics said it was sudden cardiac arrest, like flipping a switch. But what they didn't know, and what no one would discover for another 72 hours, was that Margaret had left behind a sealed envelope taped beneath the checkout counter, addressed simply, "To the one who notices." Only 3 people even knew she was supposed to be there that day. Margaret wasn't famous. She never gave speeches or won awards. Her name hadn't appeared in newspapers since her husband's obituary. Yet inside that small manila envelope were 10 handwritten pages, a key on a faded ribbon, and a single Polaroid photo of a baby wrapped in a yellow blanket, taken sometime in the late 1960s. On the back, in careful cursive, "My greatest secret." Forgive me, the library director, Janice Prewitt, found it while cleaning up after the incident. At first, she thought it was some kind of farewell note, maybe grief over her husband finally catching up with her. But then she saw the photo, and then she read the first line. "I didn't give you up because I didn't love you. I gave you up because I loved you too much." Her hands trembled, because that phrase, "loved you too much," was something she'd whispered to her own son when he left for college 30 years ago. And yet, she'd never told anyone that. She stared at the Polaroid again. The blanket looked familiar. Not just any yellow blanket, one with tiny blue stars and a zigzag pattern along the edge. Her mother used to make those, hand-stitched, only 7 ever made. But Margaret, she wasn't related, wasn't even from the same town originally, grew up in Vermont, moved here after her husband retired. Still, Janice couldn't shake the feeling crawling up her spine like ice water. She called the number listed under Margaret's emergency contact, her cousin Diane in Burlington. Voice trembling, Janice asked, "Did Margaret ever have children?" There was a long pause. Then Diane said softly, "Not that anyone knows, but she did disappear for 6 months in '68. Came back thin, quiet, never talked about it. We all assumed it was grief. Her father died that winter. But now that you mention it, she kept a shoebox locked in her closet. Wouldn't let anyone near it." Janice sat down hard on the edge of the desk. A shoebox, locked, just like the one she'd seen once, tucked behind winter coats in Margaret's spare bedroom during a charity coat drive. She had thought nothing of it at the time, but now there was still something she didn't know. 3 days later, police confirmed Margaret had passed peacefully in hospice care, having briefly regained consciousness only to whisper 2 words, "Ek, tell Janice." No one knew who Janice was to her. No official records linked them beyond volunteer duty. But Detective Ruiz, assigned to close the case as natural causes, noticed something odd. Margaret's medical file showed she'd been receiving monthly injections for a rare autoimmune disorder, one that could cause memory degradation and hallucinations. Yet her last neurologist report, dated 2 weeks prior, stated clearly, in fact, she remembers events from 1967 with unusual clarity. Why was she getting treatment for a disease she might not even have? And why did the prescriptions come from a clinic in Montreal, one that shut down in 1983? Detective Ruiz dug deeper. He discovered Margaret had made regular wire transfers over the past 15 years. 1-200 each, always on the 17th of the month, to an account under the name Lillian Grove. No address, no social, just a post office box in Quebec. When he visited the bank, the manager recalled Lillian Grove, older woman, came in twice a year, always paid in cash, wore a wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses, even in winter. She didn't want to be recognized, the manager said. Once, when someone called her Diane, she flinched like she'd been slapped. Ruiz blinked. "Oh, Diane? Margaret's cousin? Impossible. Unless Diane wasn't her cousin at all. Unless she was someone pretending to be. And unless Margaret knew. This was the exact moment everything changed. Because if Margaret had spent decades hiding the truth, faking illness, sending money northward, then this wasn't just about a lost child. It was about protection. From whom? Back at the library, Janice couldn't sleep. She kept staring at the Polaroid. The baby's face was blurry, but the blanket, those blue stars, haunted her. Her mother had given one such blanket to her sister, Eleanor, the only sibling who'd moved away, who'd married young and vanished into Canada after a family scandal no one ever spoke of. Eleanor had gotten pregnant at 19. The baby was taken away, supposedly adopted. Family legend said she never recovered, but what if the baby hadn't been adopted? What if it had been raised by someone else? By Margaret? Janice picked up the phone and dialed her elderly aunt, the last living member of her mother's generation.
Aunt Carol, it's Janice. I need to ask you about Mom's star pattern blankets and about Aunt Eleanor.
The line crackled. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper,
You're not supposed to know about that baby.
Janice's breath caught.
Why not?
She asked. Because Eleanor didn't lose the baby, Aunt Carol said. She gave it to Margaret, right after birth, in a motel outside Montpelier. Margaret said her husband couldn't have kids, said it would destroy him if he knew. Eleanor agreed, on one condition: no one could ever find out, not even your mother. Silence. And the baby, Janice whispered, was yours, Aunt Carol said. You were born 2 months premature. Doctors didn't think you'd make it. Margaret smuggled you across state lines, forged papers, said she'd raise you as hers until you were strong enough. But then you thrived, and she couldn't bring herself to give you back. Janice dropped the phone. She had been told her parents died in a car crash before she turned one. All lies. Every birthday card from Mom and Dad, signed in handwriting she now realized wasn't Margaret's. It had been forged. The crack in Janice's voice echoed through the empty house as she sank to her knees. She had buried the woman who saved her life, raised her with silent sacrifice, and carried the guilt of a lifetime, and she never even knew.
Wait a minute, don't miss this detail.
Margaret's funeral was small, only 8 attendees. But one person stood apart, tall, silver-haired, wearing a trench coat despite the summer heat. He didn't speak to anyone, just placed a single white rose on the coffin and left. Security footage later showed he drove a car registered to a shell company based in Geneva, and his license plate scanner flagged him as a known associate of Dr. Lucien Moreau, the Montreal physician who ran the shuttered clinic where Margaret's fake prescriptions originated. Moreau, it turned out, had specialized in identity reassignment cases during the Cold War, helping defectors, witnesses, even former intelligence agents disappear. So why was he involved with a retired teacher from Vermont? And why had he sent someone to watch Margaret's funeral? You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Because inside that locked shoebox Janice finally found, hidden behind a loose floorboard in Margaret's attic, wasn't just old photos, it was a passport. In Janice's real name, Eleanor Margaret Rowe, or S., born March 3, 1968. Place of birth, St. Joseph's Maternity Clinic, Quebec. Beneath it, a microfiche reader and 5 tiny reels labeled Project Cradle. Each contained names, dates, locations, over 200 infants, all allegedly stillborn, all secretly relocated, all given new identities, and funded by an offshore trust called the Hawthorne Fund. Janice scrolled through the list, heart pounding. Then she stopped. Row 73, Isabelle Duval. Isabelle Duval, born same day as her. Mother, Lillian Grove. Same P.O. box, same monthly payments. Coincidence or connection? She cross-referenced the name. Isabelle Duval had died in a fire at age 19. Official cause, accidental candle. But news archives revealed something darker. Isabelle had been researching her adoption records. Had contacted a journalist 3 days before the blaze. The journalist, Marcus Bellwether, investigative reporter, disappeared in 1991, presumed dead. But recently, a blog surfaced online, updated monthly under the name Cradle Watcher, posting encrypted clues about illegal adoptions, government cover-ups, stolen children. Last post, she's awake, the daughter has the box. They'll come for her next. As the security guards approached Janice's home that night, flashlights cutting through the dark, she realized she wasn't alone in the living room. Someone had already been there. The microfiche reels were gone, but the photo of baby Janice remained, now with a red circle around the blanket. And a sticky note attached. They check every 18 years. You're overdue. Just when they thought it was over, the phone rang. It was Detective Ruiz. Janice, I found something in Margaret's safe deposit box. A letter, addressed to you, dated yesterday. Janice swallowed hard. What does it say? It starts with, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you found the truth. But be careful, because the people who helped me hide you are still watching, and they don't like loose ends. The line went quiet. Then Ruiz whispered, "There's more. She mentions a man named Thorne, says he visits graves every November 7th, leaves a black carnation." Janice's blood ran cold. She remembered now. Years ago, walking with Margaret through the cemetery, she'd seen a man kneeling at a blank tombstone. When Margaret saw him, she gripped Janice's hand so tight it hurt, and muttered, "Not yet. Still too soon. Now what you've seen is nothing compared to what's coming," because on Margaret's calendar, circled in red, was today's date. Next to it, "He knows." And then the doorbell rang. Janice didn't move. The chimes sounded again. Then footsteps circling the house. She grabbed the flashlight, checked the windows. Nothing, until she looked toward the back garden. There, on the stone bench where Margaret used to sit, was a black carnation, fresh, placed perfectly, as if waiting. An injustice that could happen to any of us. It begins with a lie told to protect a child, but grows into a web that can't be untangled without danger. What would you do if you discovered your entire life was built on a secret someone killed to keep? Janice picked up the flower. It wasn't just a message, it was a test. Did she run, or did she stay and fight? She chose to stay. She called Ruiz back. "I want everything on Thorne, every record, every whisper. If he exists, I'm going to find him." Ruiz hesitated. "Janice, my captain just ordered me off the case, said it's closed, natural causes, but..." "No buts, they're shutting it down. Fast." Everyone knew the truth, but the real shock was how quickly they wanted it buried. She hung up, turned off the lights, sat in the dark, thinking, planning, because Margaret hadn't just left her a mystery. She'd left her a mission. And somewhere in those microfiches copied and uploaded to a hidden cloud folder before they were stolen was a name. Not just Thorne, but Victor Thorne, former intelligence liaison, dishonorably discharged in 1971 for falsifying adoption records of foreign nationals, declared dead in 1985. But Interpol had a recent sighting, Prague, 2019, attending a private symposium on ethical genealogy reconstruction. Ashastad at Janice stared at the screen, then typed one sentence into the search bar. "Who protects the protectors when the protectors are predators?" The results flooded in. Articles, forums, whistleblower testimonies. One name kept appearing. The Cradle Network, a shadow organization operating since the 1950s, helping powerful families acquire children through covert means, orphans, kidnapped babies, even switching healthy newborns with stillborns during hospital chaos. Their motto, carved into a stone plaque in an abandoned clinic in Lyon, "We give families their miracles." But the miracles came with contracts. Silence clauses, non-disclosure oaths enforced by surveillance, blackmail, and occasionally disappearance. And Margaret, she wasn't just a participant, she was a whistleblower. Internal documents showed she'd tried to expose the network in 1970. But they got to her first, threatened her husband, forced her into compliance. So she played along, took a baby Janice, not as theft, but as rescue, because the original plan was to give Janice to a wealthy senator with ties to arms trafficking, a man who wanted an heir, but not a biological one, too traceable, so he bought one, anonymous, clean, forgotten, except Margaret couldn't forget. And so she created a new life for Janice, faked her own infertility, married a man who never questioned too deeply, raised Janice with love, discipline, and constant fear. Every hug laced with anxiety, every birthday haunted by the dread of discovery. Even that strong person was once this helpless. The weight of loneliness on her shoulders was heavier than anyone knew. And now, Janice held the torch. But the truly shocking thing was this: she wasn't the only one alive. Reel 4 mentioned a second child taken the same night, a girl, given to a couple in Sweden, name Anna Lindgren.
Janice
Searched international databases.
found a professor of ethics at Uppsala University.
Published a book last year, The Stolen Self, Identity in the Age of Hidden Lineage. In the author bio, born in Quebec, adopted at birth, spent decades searching for biological roots. Ish. Janice sent an email. Subject: "Did your blanket have blue stars?" 2 hours later, reply: "I've waited 54 years for someone to ask that." They arranged a video call. Anna appeared. Sharp eyes, gentle smile, a scarf draped over her shoulder. And then she turned slightly. On the wall behind her, a framed photo of 2 women, young, standing outside a clinic. One was Margaret, the other, Eleanor, Janice's biological mother. But beside them, a third figure, smiling, holding a clipboard, a younger Victor Thorne. And then the doorbell rang again. Janice glanced at her monitor. Anna was still talking, but Janice muted the call, went to the window. A black SUV idled at the curb. No plates. She backed away. Texted Anna, "Are you safe?" Reply, "Yes, but I just got a package. No return address. Inside a locket, with a picture of me and a note. Welcome home, daughter. Time to come back to the cradle.eu. You won't believe it, but the locket opened to reveal a microchip. DNA match, 99.8% with Janice. Sisters, real sisters, separated at birth, by the same network, protected by the same lie, targeted by the same threat. Janice's hands shook. She called Ruiz one last time. "Help me, I have proof. Names, locations, victims, victims. Victims, locations, victims. If anything happens to me, release it all." He didn't answer. Instead, a text popped up from an unknown number. "You should have stayed quiet, like your mother did." Her blood turned to ice. Her blood turned to ice. How did they know about her conversation with Aunt Carol? Unless the house was bugged. She tore through the rooms, found a listening device in the smoke detector. Another in the lamp. A camera disguised as a power adapter. They'd been watching her for days, maybe weeks, but there was still something they didn't know. She had backed everything up, not to the cloud, to a physical drive, hidden in Margaret's favorite book, Pride and Prejudice. Page 43, the line Margaret used to quote, "The distance is nothing when one has a motive." That was the clue. That was the clue. That was the password. Janice grabbed the book, ripped the page, found the drive taped inside, then heard the garage door rumble open. They were inside. She ran, she fell, she got up, she kept going. Upstairs, bedroom, window, alley below. She jumped, landed hard, rolled, got up, ran. The phone rang. She answered. She was shocked. It was Anna. "I'm booking flights. We go public. Together. No more hiding." Janice sobbed. "We go public. Together. No more hiding." Janice sobbed. Masque. "They're here. They broke in." "Then run to the light," Anna said. "Always run to the light." She disconnected. Janice sprinted toward the main road. Headlights approached. She waved. Car stopped. "Older couple. Kind eyes. Mom, are you okay?" She nodded, gasping. "Please, call Detective Ruiz. Tell him the files are at—" Gunshots. Tires screeched. The couple ducked. Janice dove behind a tree. Saw the SUV speed past. They hadn't seen her. Not yet. She looked at the couple. "Thank you," she whispered, then ran again. This was her last chance. She reached a 24-hour print shop, used a burner laptop, uploaded everything, sent copies to journalists, lawyers, human rights groups, set a timed release, publish in 12 hours if I don't deactivate .eth, then disappeared into the subway, underground. Safe, for now. When he read that document, Detective Ruiz didn't hesitate. He forwarded it to 6 major news outlets. By dawn, headlines blazed. To Cradle Network exposed. 2,000 plus stolen children. Cover. Upspans. 60 years screered. Trider-tortured teacher's final act. Uncovering a global conspiracy. Daughter speaks. My mother saved me by lying. Victor Thorn was spotted in Amsterdam. Interpol is Stwerl Inges Zax. Cradle Network. Anna arrived in New York. They met at a quiet cafe. No press, no cameras, just 2 women who had lived parallel lives finally together. Anna reached into her bag, pulled out a small box. Inside, 2 matching bracelets, engraved, "Sisters of the Cradle, free at last." They clasped them on and wept. Just when they thought it was over, a letter arrived, postmarked from Montreal, handwritten. Margaret would be proud. But the network has deeper roots. Thorn is just a branch. The trunk remains. Find the archive. Beneath the old cathedral, Quebec City, November 7th, midnight. Come alone. A friend. The voice on the phone was familiar, but the caller refused to identify themselves, only said, "Your mother wasn't the first whistleblower." She was the first to survive long enough to matter. Janice looked at Anna. Anna nodded. "We go together," she said, and then the doorbell rang again. But this time, Janice wasn't afraid. She opened the door. A young woman stood there, late 20s, pale, trembling, holding a faded yellow blanket. "With blue stars, I think," she said, voice breaking. "Oh, I think I'm next."